Chuck, it's interesting to see how this is going to play out on the debate stage tomorrow night, and you've kind of warned the candidates in this column we read from earlier that coming out aggressively may not be the tactic that will resonate with voters. Why do you think?
Well, look, I think because they're already predisposed not to like them. So if you're suddenly unlikable, in order to do right, the Biden folks would love to see unhinged Trump. Trump's folks would love to see sort of lost Biden. I don't know how you want to describe it, but it looks like he's not, in the moment. But in order to get that moment to happen, you've got to sort of poke or prod or bait them, and it could backfire. And I actually think that when you have, if you actually step back a minute here, anytime I've seen a lot of what I would call first debates end up being, oh, that was less contentious than I expected. Mm-hmm. The first debates, usually everybody's pretty aware that you're making a first impression. And while these guys have already made first, second, third, and fourth impressions, they're negative. They both have very high negatives. So the conventional political advice to both of them is, hey, you're going in with high negatives. You need to debunk the stereotype against you. Mm-hmm. Then, hey, take advantage if there's a moment. But I have a feeling that they're both going to be, and shoot, the Biden campaign insisted on creating an environment that almost cages in Trump, if you will. I think this could be a lighter touch affair than many people are speculating.
So to that point, you suggested Biden shouldn't try and bait.
I'm not saying. I think it's a desperate move early. So I think you have a second debate. That's when you put it this way. When you need to shake up a race, you'll get aggressive at a debate. Mm-hmm. Both campaigns right now think they're on a path to victory. Mm-hmm. We're in this real unique moment where they're both feeling good. It's about a 10-day window right now. You've got Trump having fabulous fundraising numbers that's allowed him to have an organization that will be equal to Biden's. And Biden has seen, the convictions helped me with a point or two. Yeah. They both suddenly see realistic paths to victory. So when you do see it, you may back off.
Right. I find it also interesting, too, that they seem to almost have just as much to lose and just as much to gain, right? Is there one?
I think they have more to lose.
Yeah, both of them?
I think they both have a lot more to lose here than gain because, you have a bad night. Where are you recovering this summer? Mm-hmm. Your conventions? Well, that's already kind of propaganda, right? That's pre-planned propaganda. It becomes a long, hot summer. Mm-hmm. If you have so I think that this is why I expect, look, Trump could become Captain Chaos. This is what he does sometimes. But I think he's not feeling as aggrieved as he usually does. And when he's feeling less aggrieved, he's got slightly better behavior.
So about this group that Yamiche spent time talking about, these double haters who seem turned off by both of them, is there anything that these two men can do tomorrow night to try and win that group over, or are they already gone?
No, not be their stereotype. The more I saw this group, the more it crystallized in my head, hey, guys, if you go out there and are the two old guy Muppets yelling at each other from the back of the theater, those people are going to run to Kennedy. Mm-hmm. If you don't behave like the stereotype that they believe you are, maybe they'll take a second look at you. So, no, to me, if I were Biden or Trump watching those voters, it would tell me, hey, they're predisposed not to like me. Let me try to pierce that stereotype.
Wait, but Yamiche, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not going to be on the stage. He didn't qualify for this debate. It's interesting that a lot of these people you talked to actually said that they've read his policy positions. They've come to like him as a candidate, not the mythology surrounding him. Would it have helped RFK Jr. to be on this stage, or could that potentially have hurt him?
It probably would have helped him more to be on this stage because the number of people in this focus group said that when they got to know him and got to read his policy positions that they wanted to back him. That being said, of course, they didn't talk about the vaccines stances. They didn't talk about the conspiracy theories that we've heard from RFK Jr. So maybe they would learn a little bit more and be a little bit more cautious about whether or not they wanted to vote for him. But I will say this, and it was something that when Chuck was talking, I wrote down two things. It's one that people are watching. This was a group that said, I'm going to be taking my wine and my popcorn and I'm going to be there because this is the first debate. It still has sort of the shine to it. So they're going to have that. But also middle class and their lives. These are going to be two candidates. They're going to be waiting, these voters, for Biden or Trump to say, here's how I'm going to help you someone for these people who are middle class, who feel like their house costs too much, they want to educate their kid, but they can't afford some of the prices in private school, and their public school's falling apart. They're not sure if COVID's really over. There are all these sort of things going on, mainly, of course, still the economy and all of just what it costs to survive in America right now. So I think those are also the two things top of mind. People are going to be watching, and they're really wondering, how are you going to help their lives?
And we've talked so much about how this is an unconventional race on so many levels, but Chuck, to have a debate between the two general election nominees before a convention at the end of June, we've never seen this before, and they do have some time to recover, but if one of them has a bad night, how much of a tailspin could that turn their campaign into?
Well, we're so polarized. A tailspin is, what, 2 points now? So I do want to, pump the brakes a little bit on that. But, it does feel as if, if you made me say which candidate can least afford a bad night, it's Biden. Because there's already a little bit of stuff in the water that, hey, this debate's taking place before the Democratic convention. Right. So, a catastrophic performance by him, that suddenly he's got to deal with that being in the water again. He has mostly put that away. A reasonable debate performance totally shuts that door completely. With Trump, he's taken over the party. And I do think this is another thing that we haven't fully... This is the strongest operationally Trump's ever been inside the Republican Party. At this same point in time 4 years ago, he was already down 5 to 6 points in the general election polls. He was struggling with COVID. 8 years ago, he couldn't even... Ted Cruz was trying to get a second ballot at the Republican convention, right? So he is in as strong of a position as he's been in. So he could probably withstand a bad night easier than Biden can.
Okay. Well, excellent conversation, guys. I appreciate it. We'll see how it all plays out tomorrow night. Yamiche and Chuck, thanks for being here.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.